Ladies and gentlemen, friends and fellow dreamers, today I stand before you to talk about something that touches the very core of who we are as individuals. It's about the choices we make, the battles we fight, and the dignity we sometimes let slip away without even realizing it. We live in a world where society often tells us that we must prove ourselves in ways that don't serve our own spirit. There's pressure to fit into molds, to act in ways that please others, to be someone we are not, just to gain approval or affection. But I want to ask you, and I want you to ask yourself, at what cost? You see, dignity is not a bargaining chip. It's not something that should be traded, molded, or adjusted to fit into someone else's idea of what you should be. Dignity is your essence, your strength, your pride, your truth, and it is something that once lost is incredibly hard to regain. We are all human. We fall. We make mistakes. But even in those moments of weakness, we must never forget who we are at our core. No matter how hard the world tries to push you into a corner, no matter how tempting it may seem to change yourself to fit someone else's narrative, your dignity must remain untouchable. Imagine a life where you stand tall in your own shoes, unapologetically yourself. A life where your choices reflect your values, your beliefs, and your worth. That is a life worth living. But all too often, we sacrifice that. We let go of the very things that make us proud of who we are simply to gain a little more attention, a little more love, or to avoid discomfort. But here's the truth. If you have to sacrifice your dignity for anyone, whether it's for love, approval, or acceptance, it's not worth it. True love, true respect doesn't ask you to give up your worth. It doesn't demand that you erase parts of yourself that make you unique. Real love uplifts you, honors you, and embraces you just as you are. We have to stop normalizing the idea that sacrificing our dignity is a path to happiness or success. That's a lie. Real success comes when you learn to hold your ground, when you refuse to compromise your self-respect for anything or anyone. Remember, your value is not up for debate. It's not for sale. It is your birthright. So stand tall, my friends. Hold on to your dignity with everything you've got. Let your heart be kind, but let your self-respect be unshakable. And never, ever, for any reason, allow someone or something to make you feel less than the incredible person you already are. Sure, here's an expanded version of Kino now. Dignity is non-negotiable. It's your essence and strength. Dignity in its purest form is the internal compass that guides us through life, helping us remain grounded in our beliefs and values no matter how chaotic the world around us might become. It is the intangible force that fuels our sense of self-respect, self-worth, and ultimately our humanity. Dignity doesn't shift with the winds of approval or criticism, nor is it something that can be bent to fit someone else's desires or expectations. It is a reflection of who we are at our core, our unshakable foundation. And the most important thing to understand about dignity is this: it is non-negotiable. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by standards set by others, whether it's social media, our peers, or even family and friends, it becomes all too easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We begin to chase after external markers of success, approval, or love. We seek validation, sometimes at the cost of our very identity. In these moments, it's easy to forget the truth that dignity is not something we should ever sacrifice to fit into someone else's mold. The strength of our dignity is rooted in the quiet moments where we make decisions that reflect our values and beliefs, even when the world pushes us in a different direction. It is the quiet courage to say no when we know something isn't right for us, to stand firm in our truth when everyone around us is trying to convince us that we should be different. Dignity asks us to honor ourselves by recognizing our worth, by respecting our boundaries, and by never allowing our identity to be compromised. We've all been in situations where we've been tempted to compromise our dignity, maybe to win someone's approval, maybe to fit into a particular social group, or maybe to avoid conflict. But when we make these compromises, we often feel a deep sense of unease, a sense that we've lost a piece of ourselves. This is because deep down, we know that dignity is not something that can be bartered or exchanged. It is something that must be protected at all costs. The reason dignity is so vital is because it is the very foundation of our self-worth. When we lose our dignity, we also lose the sense of respect we have for ourselves. Without dignity, we become vulnerable to the whims of others, allowing their opinions and judgments to dictate how we see ourselves. Our worth becomes externalized, and instead of being rooted in our inner strength, it becomes dependent on others' perceptions. This is dangerous, because it opens the door to manipulation, exploitation, and abuse. Take a moment to reflect on the times when you've made choices that went against your values, or when you've let someone convince you to behave in a way that wasn't authentic to who you truly are. How did that feel? Likely you felt small or diminished, or maybe you felt disconnected from yourself. That's because in those moments, you sacrificed a part of your dignity. You allowed someone else's desires or expectations to take precedence over your own self-respect. And while it might have provided temporary relief or approval, the cost was far too high. Dignity is not something you can simply pick up and put down whenever it suits you. It is an integral part of your being, and once it's compromised, it can be difficult to regain. It's like a bridge that, when damaged, requires careful and intentional work to repair. But in many ways, the damage is never fully undone, and we carry the weight of those compromises with us for a long time. The scars of these moments can affect our self-esteem, our relationships, and our mental health. And this is why we must understand that dignity is something we must never take for granted. Your dignity isn't something that depends on anyone else's opinion of you. It doesn't matter how many people like or dislike you, how much attention or love you get from others. The true measure of dignity lies in your ability to remain true to yourself, to honor your beliefs, your values, and your worth, even when it's difficult. When you live in alignment with your dignity, you are living in alignment with your truest self. And there is a power that comes from that, a power that no external force can diminish. To protect your dignity is to protect your personal integrity. It means acting in ways that honor your principles, even when faced with temptations or challenges that might try to push you off course. It means saying no when you need to, standing up for yourself when you feel disrespected, and never allowing others to manipulate or control you. The strength of your dignity is what allows you to walk through life with your head held high, no matter the circumstances. But protecting dignity doesn't mean that we always have to be perfect, that we should never make mistakes, or that we should never be vulnerable. Dignity doesn't demand perfection. It simply demands honesty and authenticity. It asks that we be true to who we are, and when we do make mistakes, that we take responsibility and learn from them. The dignity lies not in never faltering, but in how we carry ourselves in the face of adversity. It is in our ability to rise after falling, to stay grounded after being knocked down, and to remain true to ourselves, even when the world seems to be shifting beneath our feet. One of the most beautiful aspects of dignity is that it doesn't require recognition from others. It doesn't need applause or validation. When you live with dignity, you aren't seeking praise from the outside world. Rather, you are seeking to honor your own heart and soul. The way you carry yourself in private when no one is watching is just as important as how you behave in public. Your dignity is something that you carry with you always, in every interaction, every decision, and every step you take. The strength of your dignity can inspire others. When you choose to protect your own dignity, you show others that it is possible to do the same. Your courage to stand in your truth becomes a beacon for others who may be struggling to find their own. It sends a message that you do not need to compromise who you are to gain the approval or affection of others, and that you're worthy of love and respect simply because you exist. But what happens when we let go of our dignity, when we compromise it in the name of love, acceptance, or success? The consequences are far-reaching. When we choose to ignore our own dignity in order to please others, we send the message that we are not worthy of respect. And in turn, we open ourselves up to being disrespected. When we stop honoring our own boundaries and needs, we create space for others to overstep, manipulate, or mistreat us. The more we tolerate these behaviors, the more we internalize the belief that we don't deserve better. And the cycle continues, reinforcing the idea that our dignity is something we can trade for approval or affection. This is why we must be vigilant in protecting our dignity. It is not something we can afford to give up, not even for a moment. It is not negotiable because it is the bedrock of who we are. When we lose our dignity, we lose a part of ourselves, and that can be one of the most painful experiences we can endure. To regain that dignity, we must first recognize its worth and stop allowing it to be compromised. Remember, your dignity is yours and yours alone. It cannot be taken from you without your consent, and it should never be given away in exchange for anything. It is the essence of who you are, and it must remain intact, regardless of external pressures or temptations. You are worthy of respect, of love, and of being treated with honor, not because of anything you do for others, but simply because you are you. The next time you are faced with a situation where you feel tempted to compromise your dignity for someone else's approval or for the sake of comfort, remember this: dignity is the one thing that, once lost, can never fully be regained. It is the cornerstone of your self-worth, and it is worth protecting at all costs. Never compromise your self-worth for external validation. We live in a society that constantly measures our worth based on external factors: how we look, what we own, who we know, and how well we perform in certain areas. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, we are bombarded with messages telling us that our value is tied to what others think of us. Social media reinforces this notion, presenting a distorted reality where people's worth is quantified by likes, comments, and followers. Here's the truth. Your self-worth can never and should never be determined by the opinions or validation of others. Self-worth is an internal foundation. It's the deep, unwavering understanding that you are valuable simply because you exist. It doesn't fluctuate based on circumstances or the approval of others. It's a constant, rooted in your essence, and it has nothing to do with external measures. When we begin to seek validation from outside sources, we place our self-worth in the hands of others, giving them the power to define who we are. This is dangerous because no one else can truly understand your worth except you. No one else can measure the value of your heart, your dreams, your struggles, and your unique qualities. It's natural, of course, to seek approval or recognition from others. As humans, we are social creatures, and we thrive on connection and belonging. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel appreciated or loved. However, the danger arises when we start to believe that our value is conditional upon receiving this approval. When we place our self-worth in the hands of others, we allow ourselves to be constantly at the mercy of their judgment, and this can be deeply harmful. We start to change ourselves to fit into their expectations, to gain their approval, or to avoid their disapproval. We adjust our behaviors, our appearance, and even our values, all in the pursuit of external validation. This is a slippery slope. The more we compromise our authenticity to gain approval, the more disconnected we become from who we truly are. We begin to wear masks, pretending to be something we're not in order to fit in or gain acceptance. But wearing a mask is exhausting. It's not sustainable. And eventually we begin to feel empty inside because we're no longer living as our true self. The key to maintaining your self-worth is to stop seeking validation from others. This doesn't mean you should become indifferent to the feelings or opinions of the people around you. It simply means that your value should not be determined by them. Your worth must be rooted in your own sense of self, not in how others perceive you. You are worthy of love, respect, and admiration simply because you are you, not because of anything you've done, not because of any external achievements, and not because of anyone else's approval. When you internalize this, you become immune to the external forces that try to tell you otherwise. Think about the moments in your life when you've compromised your self-worth in exchange for validation. Perhaps you've said yes to things you didn't want to do just to please others. Maybe you've suppressed your true thoughts and feelings to fit into a group or avoid conflict. Maybe you've stayed in a relationship or friendship that wasn't serving you because you feared rejection. In all these cases, you were placing your worth in the hands of someone else, letting their opinion of you determine how you felt about yourself. But here's the thing, when you compromise your self-worth for validation, you lose sight of who you truly are. You begin to measure your success not by how you feel about yourself, but by how others perceive you. This is not a healthy or sustainable way to live. It's an exhausting cycle of trying to meet other people's expectations and constantly fearing that you'll fall short. And the truth is, no matter how much you try, there will always be someone who doesn't approve of you, who doesn't like you, or who doesn't agree with your choices. If your self-worth is contingent upon pleasing them, you will always find yourself on shaky ground, unable to stand firm in your own value. True self-worth comes from within. It comes from recognizing your own unique strengths, acknowledging your flaws, and accepting yourself fully as you are. It comes from knowing that you are deserving of respect, love, and kindness simply because you are a human being with inherent dignity. When you cultivate this inner knowing, you stop seeking approval from others to validate your worth. Instead, you begin to honor yourself, to make decisions that reflect your values, and to pursue goals that align with your authentic desires. When you stop compromising your self-worth, something powerful happens. You become free. Free from the need to prove yourself to anyone, free from the weight of others' judgments, and free to live a life that is truly yours. You begin to attract people into your life who respect you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. You build relationships based on mutual respect and understanding, not on the foundation of superficial validation. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to feel at peace with yourself, because your worth no longer depends on external forces that you cannot control. It's important to remember that self-worth isn't something you need to earn. It's not something that is gained by achieving certain milestones or by receiving praise from others. Your worth is intrinsic. It is inherent in your being. You don't have to work for it or prove it. You simply have to recognize it and honor it. When you do, you will find that the need for external validation begins to fade. Instead of looking outside for approval, you begin to trust in your own judgment, your own abilities, and your own worth. And that is when you truly step into your power. The next time you find yourself compromising your self-worth for validation, pause and ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly believe it aligns with who I am? Or am I doing this to gain approval from others? The answer will tell you everything you need to know about whether or not you are honoring your true self. In a world that often promotes conformity, it can be easy to fall into the trap of believing that love and respect come with conditions. We are frequently told that to receive love, we must change ourselves to fit someone else's expectations, or to gain respect, we must sacrifice parts of who we are. However, the essence of true love and respect lies in the opposite. They don't ask us to lose our identity. Instead, they encourage us to be unapologetically ourselves, to stand in our truth, and to love ourselves fully before we can truly give love to others. At the core of genuine love and respect is acceptance. True love doesn't demand that you mold yourself into someone you're not. It doesn't require you to compromise your values, your beliefs, or your individuality. Instead, it encourages you to show up as the person you are with all your strengths and flaws. Love, in its truest form, sees and appreciates you for who you are at your core without needing you to change or fit into any preconceived mold. The love that asks you to hide parts of yourself or to wear a mask is not real love. That's control, manipulation, or conditional affection, not love in its purest form. True respect never requires you to sacrifice your identity. Respect, when it is real, honors the uniqueness of who you are. It acknowledges your individuality, your experiences, and your voice. Respect doesn't demand that you conform to others' ideas of what you should be. It celebrates your authenticity and treats you with dignity, no matter what. If respect is conditional, if it is only given when you act in a certain way, when you conform to someone else's expectations, then it is not respect at all. It is simply a superficial form of acknowledgement that comes with strings attached. The problem arises when we begin to believe that love and respect are conditional. This belief leads many of us to compromise parts of ourselves in order to gain affection or approval. We make choices that go against our values, put our needs aside, and abandon parts of our identity, all in the hope that by doing so, we will earn someone's love or respect. We may suppress our true thoughts and feelings, change our appearance, or adopt different behaviors, all in an effort to be accepted. But what we fail to realize in those moments is that when we change ourselves to fit someone else's narrative, we lose sight of who we truly are. We trade our authenticity for the illusion of acceptance. And in doing so, we start to live for others instead of ourselves. The most painful part of this process is that we often don't recognize the cost of losing our identity until much later. We may convince ourselves that we are making these changes for the sake of love or respect. After all, isn't it worth it to adapt to make someone happy, to gain affection, or to avoid conflict? But the truth is, when we compromise our identity, we stop listening to our inner voice and instead start to follow the script that others have written for us. This disconnection can lead to feelings of emptiness, resentment, and even self-loathing as we struggle to reconcile the person we've become with the person we truly are. True love, however, allows us to be free. It creates a safe space where we can express ourselves authentically without fear of rejection or judgment. It encourages us to grow, not by changing who we are, but by evolving into the best version of ourselves while still honoring our true essence. Love that is genuine gives us the strength to be vulnerable, to show up as we are, and to feel accepted for all that we are, including our imperfection. True respect is about seeing each other as equals, recognizing that each person's individuality is valuable. Respect doesn't seek to control or change the other person. Instead, it honors their autonomy, their experiences, and their unique perspectives. When respect is truly present, it allows both people to thrive independently while also supporting one another's growth. It never forces conformity. It encourages individuality. It's crucial to understand that real love and respect are not about ownership or possession. They don't require you to lose yourself to keep the other person happy, nor do they demand that you suppress your authentic self to gain approval. In fact, when you are in a relationship built on true love and respect, you should feel more empowered to be yourself. You should feel free to express your thoughts, pursue your passions, and honor your boundaries. Real love and respect don't stifle you, they lift you up. Unfortunately, many people have experienced relationships where love and respect were conditional. They've been told that they have to change in order to be loved or respected, or they've been made to feel that their worth is tied to what they can offer others. These experiences can be painful, and they often leave lasting scars. But it's important to recognize that those experiences were not a reflection of what true love and respect are meant to be. They were a reflection of manipulation, control, and insecurity. True love and respect come from a place of strength, not weakness, and they never seek to diminish or control the other person. When we understand that love and respect never ask us to lose our identity, we begin to see relationships differently. We stop settling for unhealthy dynamics where we are asked to be someone we're not, and we start to seek connections that allow us to be our true selves. We start to understand that the most fulfilling relationships are the ones where both people feel seen, heard, and respected as they are, without the need to change or conform to someone else's expectations. In these relationships, there is no need for pretense. There is no need to hide parts of ourselves out of fear of judgment or rejection. True love and respect allow us to show up in the world with confidence, knowing that we are valued not for the roles we play or the masks we wear, but for the people we are at our core. Your value is innate. It is not up for debate or sale. In a world that often equates worth with what we do, how we look, or what we own, it is easy to fall into the trap of believing that our value is something that needs to be earned, bought, or proven. We are constantly told that success is measured by external achievements, how much money we make, the status we hold, the way we present ourselves to the world. This external validation can make us feel as if our intrinsic worth is conditional, as if we must prove ourselves worthy of love, respect, or acceptance. But the truth is simple and clear. Your value is innate. It is not something that can be negotiated, diminished, or determined by others. It exists simply because you are here, and it is yours by birthright. The concept of innate value is powerful, yet so often misunderstood. People are frequently taught to tie their self-worth to external markers, whether it's academic success, social approval, professional accomplishments, or physical appearance. These are all things that society places value on, but they are fleeting and superficial. These external markers can change at any moment, and they often do. A job can be lost, relationships can change, bodies can age, and appearances can shift. If our value is tied solely to these things, what happens when they are no longer present or relevant? If your self-worth is based on what you do, what you have, or how you are seen by others, then you are at the mercy of a world that is constantly shifting. Realizing that your value is innate means accepting that it is not dependent on any of these external circumstances. Your worth is not something that needs to be earned or validated by others. You don't need to achieve a certain level of success to prove that you are worthy of love, respect, or dignity. Your value is inherent in your very existence. You are worthy simply because you are a human being with your own unique strength, experiences, and perspective. This understanding of worth removes the burden of having to prove yourself, and it empowers you to live life from a place of confidence and authenticity. Too often, people sell themselves short, whether consciously or unconsciously, because they don't fully understand their own intrinsic value. They may find themselves in situations or relationships where they are asked to compromise their beliefs, their boundaries, or their sense of self in order to be accepted or valued. They may give away parts of themselves in exchange for approval, love, or success. But in doing so, they are essentially agreeing to the idea that their worth is something to be bought, bargained for, or won. This can lead to a constant cycle of seeking external validation, never truly feeling secure in who they are, and constantly questioning their value. The reality is that when we rely on external validation to determine our worth, we open ourselves up to manipulation. We give others the power to decide what is valuable about us, and we are at their mercy. This is where self-respect becomes essential. When you understand that your value is innate and cannot be taken away or bargained for, you stop seeking validation from others. You stop measuring your worth by the opinions of others or by your achievements. You become free to live according to your own standards, driven by your own values and guided by your own internal compass. But understanding this doesn't mean we are immune to the pressures of the outside world. We will all face moments when we feel judged, overlooked, or undervalued. We will encounter people who try to measure our worth based on their own standards, or even try to convince us that we need to be something we're not in order to be valuable. In these moments, it is crucial to remind ourselves that our worth is not determined by others' opinions. It is not something that can be bought or sold, and it is certainly not something that can be taken away because someone doesn't see our value. It is also important to recognize that when we place our worth in the hands of others or in the achievements we've attained, we are setting ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. No one else can truly see the full picture of who you are. People will always judge based on limited perspectives, and no one will ever be able to fully measure your worth. Therefore, it is up to you to recognize and honor your own value. It's about having the courage to stand firm in your sense of self, even when others try to challenge it or when the world around you seems to question it. The beauty of knowing that your value is innate is that it allows you to show up in the world as your authentic self. You stop worrying about whether others approve of you because you know that you don't need anyone's approval to be worthy. This sense of inner confidence allows you to make choices that reflect your true self rather than decisions made in search of validation. When you embrace your inherent value, you set boundaries that protect your peace, you pursue goals that align with your heart, and you choose relationships that honor your worth. This doesn't mean that you should be indifferent to others or that you should be unkind or dismissive. It simply means that you should never sacrifice your sense of self or self-respect in the pursuit of external approval. When you understand that your worth is not up for debate, you stop trying to convince others of your value. Instead, you allow your actions, your integrity, and your authenticity to speak for themselves. People will either see your worth or they won't, but their inability to see it doesn't change the truth of who you are. The challenge comes in remembering this truth, especially in a world that constantly tells us to measure ourselves by standards that are often arbitrary or harmful. However, by embracing the fact that your value is innate, you free yourself from the constant need to prove, to compete, or to conform. You begin to understand that your worth is not something that can be taken away, and it is certainly not something that needs to be negotiated or sold to the highest bidder. When you live with the knowledge that your value is not negotiable, you begin to walk with a quiet confidence, knowing that no matter the external circumstances, you are enough. You are valuable simply because you exist. This realization shifts your entire approach to life, relationships, and success, and it allows you to embrace yourself and your worth without reservation or fear. Stand firm in your truth and never sacrifice your dignity for anyone. In a world where external influences constantly bombard us, it can sometimes feel like our sense of self is up for grabs. Society, relationships, and circumstances often push us to change who we are, to bend in ways that fit certain expectations, or to sacrifice parts of ourselves for the sake of pleasing others. But the truth is, your dignity, the core of who you are, is sacred. It is not meant to be compromised in exchange for anyone's exploits, for anyone's approval or comfort. Standing firm in your truth means refusing to let go of your values, your identity, and your self-respect, no matter how much pressure is placed on you. Your truth is not negotiable. It is a reflection of your deepest beliefs, experiences, and the unique perspective you bring to the world. It is the foundation on which you build your life, and it is what makes you authentic. When you stand firm in your truth, you align your actions, words, and decisions with your values, regardless of what others may think or want from you. You remain true to yourself, regardless of how difficult or uncomfortable it might be. In a society that constantly tells us to conform, to adapt, or to compromise for the sake of fitting in or gaining favor, standing firm in your truth requires courage. It means not letting the noise of the world drown out your inner voice. But standing firm doesn't always come easily. It's easy to fall into the trap of people pleasing, to compromise your values in an effort to gain approval, love, or acceptance. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to what others think of us, and so we begin to shape ourselves to fit their expectations. We sacrifice parts of ourselves, hide our true feelings, or agree to things we don't believe in just to avoid conflict or rejection. However, every time we do this, we chip away at our sense of self, and we begin to lose touch with who we truly are. The challenge comes when we're faced with situations where our dignity is tested, where we feel the pull to sacrifice our truth in order to keep the peace or to fit in. In these moments, it's important to remember that true peace comes from standing in your own integrity. Compromising your dignity for the sake of comfort or approval doesn't bring lasting peace. You may convince yourself that you're doing it for the right reasons, but deep down, you know you are betraying yourself. This internal dissonance can eat away at your sense of self-worth and leave you feeling empty. When you stand firm in your truth, you honor your authenticity. You acknowledge that your beliefs, your feelings, and your values matter. You respect yourself enough to not allow others to dictate who you should be or how you should behave. This doesn't mean you ignore the needs or feelings of others, but it means that you never lose sight of your own needs, boundaries, and worth. You are not a chameleon meant to blend into every environment, nor are you a tool to be used by others for their own gain. You are a whole person, deserving of respect, love, and understanding as you are. Standing firm in your truth requires confidence. The confidence that you are enough just as you are and that your worth is not determined by others' perceptions. It means not seeking validation or approval from outside sources, but instead finding peace and security within yourself. This doesn't mean you won't face opposition or judgment. You will. People may not always understand your choices, and some may even try to persuade you to change. But when you are rooted in your truth, you become impervious to these outside pressures. You realize that their opinions are just that, opinions, and they do not have the power to define your worth or your path. There is an immense strength that comes from standing firm in your truth. It is a strength that comes from a deep sense of self-respect and self-awareness. When you refuse to sacrifice your dignity, you send a powerful message to the world that you are not for sale, that you are not willing to compromise your essence for anyone or anything. This message resonates with the people who matter. Those who will respect you for who you truly are, not for who you pretend to be or for the image you project. Authentic relationships are built on mutual respect for one another's truths. And when you stand firm in yours, you create space for genuine, meaningful connections. Moreover, when you stand firm in your truth, you empower others to do the same. Your decision to honor your dignity serves as an example, inspiring those around you to also respect themselves and refuse to sacrifice their own truth. It creates a ripple effect that encourages a culture of authenticity, where people are free to be themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. This is the foundation for healthy, thriving communities, where individuals feel safe to express themselves, pursue their passions, and live their lives without hiding parts of themselves. It's also important to understand that standing firm in your truth doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. It doesn't mean shutting yourself off from growth or new experiences. On the contrary, being firm in your truth means that you are grounded in your values and beliefs, but you remain open to learning, evolving, and expanding your understanding of the world. Your truth may shift and evolve over time, but as long as it is rooted in your authenticity, it will always serve you well. Standing firm is not about stubbornness or refusal to change. It's about being anchored in your sense of self while remaining open to the world around you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and fellow dreamer, We all face moments in life that feel like setbacks, moments when it feels like the world is against us, when everything we've worked for slips through our fingers. But here's the truth. No matter how far we've fallen, no matter how deep the pain runs, there is always a way to rise again. 2025 is here. It's not just another year on the calendar, it's a fresh canvas, a new chance to write our story, to rebuild, to reinvent, and to make the greatest comeback of our lives. Life doesn't follow a straight path. And the journey you have walked, whether it's been full of victories or setbacks, has shaped you into the person you are today. Every twist and turn, every failure and success has left its mark on you. Understanding and acknowledging this journey is the first step in making the greatest comeback of your life. This isn't about pretending that the past hasn't happened or trying to erase the mistakes you've made. It's about accepting everything that has come before, understanding the lessons it has taught you, and using that wisdom to move forward with purpose. Many of us are taught to look ahead, to keep our eyes on the future and not dwell on what's behind us. While there's truth in the idea of not being stuck in the past, there's also value in reflection. Reflection is not about regret. Reflection is about recognition. The recognition that every moment of your past, every obstacle you've encountered, and every setback you've faced has made you who you are. When you truly acknowledge the fullness of your journey, you understand that each part has contributed to your growth, no matter how painful or difficult it may have seemed in the moment. Take a moment to think about your life, not as it is now, but as it has been. Think about the hard days, the challenges that left you feeling exhausted and hopeless. Now, think about how those very challenges are the reason you are still here, still moving forward, still fighting for more. It's easy to focus on what didn't go the way you wanted, on the mistakes you wish you hadn't made. But how would you have learned if you hadn't fallen? How would you have found the courage to keep going if you hadn't stumbled first? Every struggle you've faced has been part of your training. It's been a lesson, even if it didn't feel like one at the time. Every failure you've experienced has given you valuable insight into what doesn't work. Every painful moment has shown you just how strong you can be when you face adversity head on. We often try to bury these experiences, thinking that they are sources of shame or regret, but they are, in fact, the foundation of your resilience. Acknowledging your journey also means giving yourself credit for the victories. Too often, we minimize our successes, attributing them to luck or downplaying their significance. But every achievement, no matter how small, is a testament to your strength, your determination, and your willingness to take risks. Whether it was completing a difficult project, healing from a personal loss, or simply finding the courage to start over after failure, those moments are worth acknowledging. They are proof that you are capable of overcoming, that you have the power within you to change the course of your life. The journey is also filled with lessons learned through others, through the people you've met, the relationships you've formed, and the connections you've made. Not all of these experiences have been easy, and some may have been painful, but through each of them, you've learned more about yourself, about how you relate to others, and about the world around you. Some of these lessons may have been hard to accept, but they have all contributed to your growth, and that's what's most important. You're the shape. Whether the people in your life have built you up or broken you down, they have played a role in shaping your path. And this doesn't mean that you should hold on to resentment or regret, but rather that you should recognize that everyone who crossed your path has taught you something valuable, even if it was simply how to stand up for yourself or set boundaries. When you acknowledge your journey, you also have to recognize the emotional and mental scars that may still be present. These scars can often feel like weights, pulling you down and holding you back. But they don't have to define you. They can be reminders of what you've endured, but they don't have to limit what you can achieve in the future. It's important to confront your pain, not to push it away or pretend it doesn't exist. You are not weaker for having experienced hardship. In fact, acknowledging your pain allows you to heal. And in healing, you can move forward with a renewed sense of strength and purpose. At times, it's tempting to look at others and compare your journey to theirs. We live in a world where social media and public personas often highlight only the successes, leaving out the struggles. But remember, everyone has faced challenges, and no one's path is perfect. The truth is, the people you admire for their accomplishments have also had their own difficulties to overcome. What sets them apart is not that they've been free of obstacles, but that they've chosen to embrace their struggles and learn from them. The most successful individuals are often the ones who've had to fight through the hardest battles. Acknowledge that the hardships you've faced are not signs of weakness, but of strength. It takes courage to continue after you've been knocked down, to rise after you've been broken. Many people quit along the way, but you didn't. And that alone is something worth recognizing. Your ability to keep going, to keep trying, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart, is what makes you resilient. Every day you chose to get up and move forward even when it felt impossible. You proved to yourself that you are stronger than you think. When you acknowledge your journey, you also acknowledge your capacity for growth. Your past doesn't define your future. Just because you've faced setbacks doesn't mean you're destined for failure. You have the power to rewrite your story at any moment. The beauty of acknowledging your journey is that it frees you to let go of limiting beliefs and embrace the potential for change. The past is a part of who you are, but it doesn't control your future. The process of acknowledging your journey doesn't mean you have to stay stuck in the past. In fact, it's the opposite. It allows you to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. When you understand where you've been, you can better navigate where you're going. Your experiences, good, bad, and in between, have given you the tools you need to face the future with confidence. You know what works for you and what doesn't. You know your strengths and your weaknesses. You know where you need to grow and where you're already thriving. All of this knowledge empowers you to take the next step with a sense of purpose and direction. There is power in knowing that you've already overcome so much. When the road ahead looks uncertain, you can look back on your journey and remind yourself of all the times you thought you couldn't make it but did it anyway. When you feel fear creeping in, you can remember the courage you've already shown. And when the weight of the world feels too heavy to bear, you can remind yourself that you've carried it before and came out stronger. Acknowledging your journey also means giving yourself permission to heal. You don't have to carry the weight of every past mistake, every past hurt, or every past failure. Healing is a process, and it starts with acceptance. Accept that you're not perfect. Accept that you've made mistakes. Accept that you've faced challenges and that it's okay to feel pain. But also accept that you have the power to move beyond these things. Healing doesn't mean forgetting what happened, but it means finding peace with it. And in finding peace with it, you can move forward, lighter and stronger than before. As you embark on the journey of making the greatest comeback of your life, remember that everything you've been through, every step of your journey has led you here. It has prepared you for this moment. Every obstacle you've faced has taught you something, and every hardship has made you more capable. Don't dismiss the significance of what you've been through. Embrace it, own it, and let it propel you forward as you step into the future with a newfound sense of purpose and strength. Your journey is uniquely yours, and it's what makes you powerful. By acknowledging it fully, you give yourself the gift of understanding, acceptance, and the ability to move forward with a clear heart and mind. This is how you begin to build the foundation for your greatest comeback. When it comes to making a true and lasting comeback, the people we surround ourselves with play a crucial role in either supporting or hindering that journey. The right environment can fuel our motivation, boost our confidence, and help us grow, while the wrong one can drain our energy, reinforce self-doubt, and slow our progress. It's easy to overlook the influence that others have on us, but the reality is that the people we interact with regularly shape the way we think, act, and feel. That's why it's essential to carefully choose who we allow into our circle and to understand how our relationships impact our comeback. The first thing to consider when building a supportive environment is that positivity is not just about being around people who always say the right things or shower us with praise. True support comes from people who challenge us to be better, who believe in us even when we don't believe in ourselves, and who offer constructive criticism when needed. It's about finding those who encourage growth, not those who keep us comfortable in our complacency. You need people who can hold up a mirror and show you your potential, who help you see the strengths you might be overlooking, and who aren't afraid to push you to strive harder and aim higher. These people might not always tell you what you want to hear, but they will tell you what you need to hear to grow. The right people help you shift your mindset from limitation to possibility. They remind you of your worth when you start doubting yourself. They celebrate your successes, no matter how small, and offer support through your failures. Surrounding yourself with individuals who genuinely want the best for you means that you'll have a constant source of encouragement and accountability. Their belief in you will help you carry the weight of your challenges and keep you from giving up when things get tough. On the other hand, toxic relationships can have the opposite effect. When we surround ourselves with people who constantly bring negativity, who criticize or belittle us, it becomes harder to move forward. These people often instill fear, insecurity, and self-doubt. They tell us that our dreams are unrealistic, that we're not capable of success, or that we're not worthy of achieving our goals. Their negative energy can cloud our judgment, stifle our confidence, and keep us stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage. It's crucial to recognize the signs of toxic relationships, whether it's a friend who constantly drains your energy, a family member who doesn't believe in your potential, or a colleague who discourages your ideas. While it's difficult to distance ourselves from these people, it's important to remember that protecting your mental and emotional health is key to your growth. Building a supportive environment also means recognizing the value of different perspectives. Surrounding yourself with a variety of individuals who bring unique experiences and insights to the table can be incredibly beneficial. These people might not always see things the way you do, but their different viewpoints can help you broaden your own, challenge your assumptions, and see problems from angles you might not have considered. This kind of diversity in thought can foster creativity and innovation, and can provide you with the tools you need to overcome obstacles that might have seemed insurmountable. It's important to seek out individuals who will not only offer you support, but who will also help you expand your thinking and grow in ways you might not have imagined. One of the most powerful ways that the people around us can support our comeback is through accountability. Having someone to hold you accountable can be a game changer. When you're working toward a big goal or trying to make a significant change, it's easy to get sidetracked or lose motivation. But having someone who checks in on your progress, who celebrates your wins, and who gently nudges you when you fall off track can make all the difference. Accountability partners push you to show up even when you don't feel like it, and they remind you of why you started in the first place. These people aren't just there to hold you to your commitments. They're there to remind you that your dreams matter, that your goals are worth pursuing, and that you are capable of achieving them. It's not enough to just surround yourself with people who support you. You also need to be willing to let go of relationships that are no longer serving you. This can be one of the hardest parts of making a comeback, especially if those relationships are long-standing or involve people you deeply care about. Letting go of toxic or draining relationships doesn't mean you're cutting people out of your life permanently, but it does mean creating boundaries that allow you to prioritize your own well-being and growth. It's about recognizing when a relationship is no longer healthy for you and taking the necessary steps to protect your peace. This can be an emotional process, but it's a vital part of reclaiming your power and ensuring that your environment is one that uplifts and supports your personal growth. Building a positive and supportive environment is not something that happens overnight. It requires intentionality and effort. It's about being mindful of the energy that people bring into your life and actively choosing to spend time with those who inspire, motivate, and challenge you. It means investing in relationships that are mutually supportive, where both parties can help each other grow. It also means being the kind of person who offers encouragement, positivity, and accountability to others so that you can build a network of people who are equally invested in each other's success. As you work toward your comeback, it's important to remember that you don't have to do it alone. While the journey may be yours to take, you don't have to carry the burden by yourself. The right people will walk alongside you, cheer you on, and help you rise when you fall. By surrounding yourself with positivity, accountability, and support, you create a powerful network that can propel you forward toward the success and fulfillment you deserve. Choose your circle wisely and let them help you become the best version of yourself. The power of perseverance cannot be overstated when it comes to making a significant comeback in life. Often, when we face setbacks, it's easy to feel defeated, to question whether the struggle is worth it. The road to success and transformation is rarely linear, and many times it's full of obstacles, detours, and moments when we feel like giving up. But it is precisely in those moments of difficulty, when everything seems impossible, that the ability to persevere makes all the difference. Perseverance is not about avoiding hardship. It's about having the determination to push through it, to keep going despite the challenges, and to keep believing in yourself even when others may not. Perseverance is built on a foundation of resilience. And resilience is the ability to recover quickly from setbacks, to bounce back when life knocks you down. But resilience doesn't happen automatically. It's developed through experience, through facing challenges, and through learning how to overcome them. The more you endure, the stronger you become. Each setback becomes an opportunity to grow, to learn how to navigate adversity with grace and strength. The key to perseverance is understanding that difficulties are not the end of the road, but part of the process. Each failure, each mistake, each challenge you encounter is a lesson in disguise, preparing you for the next step on your journey. One of the most important things to realize when it comes to perseverance is that it is often the deciding factor between success and failure. Many people give up just before they're about to succeed. They may have faced a series of failures or challenges, and they reach a point where they feel like it's just not worth it anymore. But the truth is, the point at which they give up is often the moment right before the breakthrough happens. Perseverance requires the patience to continue working toward your goal even when you can't see the immediate results. It's about trusting the process. Even when the path forward feels unclear or when progress is slow, when you stay committed, even in the face of adversity, you are more likely to reach your goal, even if it takes longer than you initially anticipated. Perseverance also means refusing to accept defeat as final. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that one failure defines your future, that a setback means you're not meant for success. But the reality is that setbacks are just temporary. Failure is only permanent if you stop trying. The most successful individuals in the world didn't get there by never failing. They got there by embracing failure, learning from it, and using it as fuel to keep going. The key is to view failure not as a reflection of your worth, but as a part of the process that leads to success. Every time you pick yourself up after a fall, you get stronger and you get one step closer to where you want to be. Perseverance is also about maintaining faith in your vision, even when it seems like the world around you is telling you to quit. Many times, when we're pursuing something important to us, we encounter skepticism, doubt, and discouragement from others. People may tell you that your dreams are unrealistic or that you should give up because it's too difficult. In these moments, perseverance means staying true to your vision, holding on to the belief that your dream is worth fighting for, even if no one else can see it yet. When you persevere, you build the inner strength to block out the noise and stay focused on what matters most to you. It's about trusting that your vision is valid even when others can't see it, and knowing that persistence is the key to turning your vision into reality. In the pursuit of a comeback, perseverance also involves maintaining a positive attitude even in the face of setbacks. It's easy to fall into a negative mindset when things aren't going well, to become discouraged, or to start doubting your ability to succeed. But maintaining a positive attitude is essential for keeping your energy high and staying motivated to continue. Positivity doesn't mean ignoring the difficulties or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means choosing to focus on the solutions rather than the problems, on the possibilities rather than the limitations. A positive mindset helps you see opportunities in the midst of challenges, and it fuels your perseverance by reminding you that setbacks are just temporary and that every obstacle can be overcome with effort, determination, and time. Another key element of perseverance is flexibility. While it's important to stay focused on your goal, it's equally important to recognize that the path to that goal may not always be straightforward. Sometimes the strategy that you've been using may not be working, or life may throw unexpected challenges your way that force you to adjust your approach. Perseverance doesn't mean stubbornly pushing forward with the same plan even when it's not yielding results. It means being adaptable, being willing to change course when necessary, and finding new ways to move forward. Flexibility allows you to continue your journey toward your goal even if the road you're traveling on isn't the one you originally envisioned. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate perseverance is to focus on the small wins. When you're facing a difficult challenge or working toward a big goal, it can be easy to become overwhelmed by the enormity of what lies ahead. But instead of focusing on how far you have to go, take time to celebrate each small victory along the way. Every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. By acknowledging and celebrating these small wins, you remind yourself that you are making progress, that you are capable, and that you are one step closer to your goal. This practice builds momentum and helps you stay motivated even when the journey seems long. Perseverance also involves self-compassion. There will be times when things don't go as planned, when you make mistakes, or when you fall short of your goals. It's easy to beat yourself up during these times, but being kind to yourself is crucial for maintaining your perseverance. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same understanding and patience that you would offer to a friend. It means recognizing that you are human, that you will face challenges, and that failure is not a reflection of your worth, but an opportunity to learn and grow. When you practice self-compassion, you strengthen your resolve and keep moving forward, knowing that setbacks don't define you. Perseverance is about not giving up, no matter how difficult the road ahead may seem. It's about maintaining your focus on the bigger picture, trusting the process, and taking consistent action toward your goals, even when things get tough. Perseverance is what transforms obstacles into opportunities, failures into lessons, and setbacks into stepping stones on the path to success. When you embrace perseverance, you develop the resilience to face any challenge that comes your way and the strength to continue moving forward no matter what. Changing the way we think is often the most significant challenge in transforming our lives. It's not always easy, but it's necessary if we want to truly make a comeback. Reframing our mindset means shifting our perspective on life's challenges, setbacks, and opportunities. It's about consciously deciding to see things differently, to stop being a victim of circumstances, and to start being the architect of our own future. Reframing your mindset is the cornerstone of making a powerful comeback. When life knocks you down, your thoughts will either help you rise or keep you stuck. How you think about your struggles will directly impact how you move forward. If you see every obstacle as a dead end, you'll stop trying. But if you see each obstacle as a lesson, an opportunity to grow, then you'll keep moving, even when the path is unclear. It's about flipping the script on what you tell yourself and the story you believe about your life. One of the biggest mistakes we make when facing hardship is allowing negative thoughts to consume us. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-doubt and worry. I'm not good enough. I'll never make it, or this is too hard. These thoughts become our reality if we let them. We start to believe that failure is final, that success is reserved for others, or that we're simply not cut out for the things we dream about. But this mindset is a lie we tell ourselves. The truth is, failure is not final. It's not the end of the road. It's simply a stepping stone, a necessary part of the journey. It's only by reframing our thinking that we can unlock the power to keep going. When you reframe your mindset, you start to view challenges differently. Instead of seeing them as burdens, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Every difficult situation is a chance to learn something new, whether it's about the world around you or about yourself. You don't have to fear challenges. You can embrace them. With every obstacle, you can ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger from this experience? What does this teach me about my resilience and determination? When you shift your focus from the problem to the lesson, you shift your entire perspective on life. The power of reframing your mindset also comes from changing how you see yourself. Often, the way we perceive ourselves limits our potential. If you see yourself as incapable or not worthy of success, you will act accordingly. But when you begin to believe in your own ability, when you recognize that you are capable of achieving great things, it shifts the way you approach everything. Reframing your mindset means acknowledging that you are not your failures, you are not the mistakes you've made or the times you've stumbled. You are the person who has learned from those experiences and emerged stronger. It means understanding that your past doesn't define your future. Just because you've faced setbacks doesn't mean you can succeed in the future. In fact, your setbacks make you more prepared for what's ahead. When you change the way you think about yourself, you also change the way you act. Your thoughts shape your actions. If you believe you can't do something, your actions will reflect that belief. But if you believe you can, you will act with confidence, with determination, and with resilience. Reframing your mindset means taking control of your inner dialogue. It means silencing the voice of doubt and replacing it with the voice of possibility. You start telling yourself that you can do it, that you have what it takes, that even if you stumble, you will get back up. Another important part of reframing your mindset is letting go of perfectionism. Many of us are afraid of failure because we've bought into the idea that everything must be perfect. But perfectionism is a prison. It holds us back from taking action, from moving forward, because we're too afraid of making mistakes. But the truth is, mistakes are part of the process. No one has ever succeeded without facing failure, without stumbling along the way. Reframing your mindset means embracing imperfection. It means understanding that failure is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of courage, of daring to try. It's about shifting from a mindset of fear to one of courage, where you are willing to take risks and fail forward. Reframing your mindset is also about letting go of the need for validation from others. It's so easy to look to others for approval, to measure our worth based on what others think of us. But this mindset is limiting. When you begin to reframe your thinking, you realize that your worth isn't dependent on anyone else's opinion. You are worthy because you exist, because you are constantly growing, learning, and evolving. The validation you need comes from within, not from the external world. When you stop seeking approval from others, you begin to find your true power. You trust yourself and your abilities. You believe in your journey, even when others don't understand it. One of the most powerful ways to reframe your mindset is to practice gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. It allows you to see the blessings in your life, even when things aren't perfect. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring the challenges or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means acknowledging that despite the struggles, there is still much to be thankful for. When you practice gratitude, you train your mind to focus on abundance, not scarcity. You shift from a mindset of lack to one of plenty. And this shift, no matter how small, can change everything. When you are grateful, you open yourself up to more opportunities, more success, and more joy. Reframing your mindset is an ongoing process. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not always easy. There will be moments when negative thoughts creep in, when doubt tries to take hold. But every time you catch yourself thinking negatively, you have the power to change that thought. You can reframe it, shift your perspective, and take action with renewed energy. This is how you take control of your life. This is how you set yourself up for the greatest comeback. Your mind is one of the most powerful tools you have. It can either hold you back or propel you forward. By reframing your mindset, you unlock your potential, you discover your true strength, and you begin to see challenges as the opportunities they truly are. When you shift your perspective, you realize that nothing is impossible. The comeback you've been waiting for starts with your mind. The greatest transformation begins with the decision to change the way you think. Taking consistent action is the key to turning any goal, dream, or comeback into reality. It's easy to talk about big ideas, to get excited about change, but without the discipline and dedication to back it up, nothing will truly move forward. Progress isn't made in bursts of motivation or fleeting moments of inspiration. It's built through the daily decisions and the small steps that we take, even when we don't feel like it. That's what makes the difference between those who dream and those who actually achieve. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about committing to take action even when the path is uncertain or the odds seem stacked against you. The first thing to understand about taking consistent action is that it doesn't need to be grand. We often think that in order to make progress, we have to do something huge, something life-changing every day. But the truth is, the most significant results come from the small, often overlooked actions that we take regularly. It's the repeated effort, the discipline, the daily choices that build momentum over time. It's the commitment to show up every day, even when there is no immediate reward or recognition. And the most important part of that process is being okay with starting small. Starting small doesn't mean you're not ambitious. It means you're smart enough to understand that great things are built piece by piece. Too many people get overwhelmed by the idea of achieving something big. They look at the destination and feel discouraged because the journey seems too long, or the gap between where they are and where they want to be feels impossible to bridge. But the only way to close that gap is by consistently taking the next step. Sometimes that step is incredibly small. Sending one email, writing one paragraph, making one phone call. It may not seem like much, but it's progress. And when you add up those small steps over time, they lead you to your goals. The key is not to focus on the enormity of the task ahead, but rather on what you can do today. Consistency is about showing up when you don't feel like it. It's easy to take action when you're motivated, when the energy is high, when everything feels possible. But the true test of your commitment is whether you can take action on the days when motivation is low, when self-doubt creeps in, or when life presents 1,000 distractions. This is where most people fail. They wait for the right moment, the day when everything feels perfect, or when they're in the mood to work. But the truth is, the right moment often doesn't come on its own. You have to create it. Consistency means deciding that no matter what, you're going to take that step forward, even when you don't feel ready. The beauty of consistent action is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Too often we wait until we feel fully prepared, until we think we have everything figured out. But waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect day, the perfect conditions is a trap. Perfection is a myth, and if you wait for everything to align, you'll spend your life waiting. Instead of focusing on perfection, instead of making your goal about getting everything exactly right, make it about learning and improving along the way. Every action you take teaches you something, whether you succeed or fail. And each small step gets you closer to the life you want to create. When you commit to consistent action, you also begin to build confidence. Each time you show up and do the work, you prove to yourself that you can trust yourself. You begin to believe that you are capable of doing hard things, that you have the strength to keep going even when the road gets tough. This builds an internal sense of power that no external validation can provide. Consistency creates a cycle of progress, confidence, and motivation. The more you do, the more you believe you can do. It becomes easier to keep going because you know you've done it before. And the more you see results, even if they're small, the more motivated you'll be to continue. One of the most powerful aspects of taking consistent action is that it forces you to break down your goals into manageable steps. When you set a big goal, it can often feel overwhelming. You might not know where to start or how to begin, but by focusing on daily actions, you don't have to worry about the end result yet. You just need to ask yourself, what can I do today? What's the next step, no matter how small? This makes the process less intimidating and allows you to maintain a steady pace without getting overwhelmed by the big picture. Consistent action helps you build resilience. There will always be setbacks. There will be days when things don't go according to plan, when you feel like giving up, or when you face failure. But consistent action teaches you to keep going even when things don't go smoothly. It shows you that you don't have to get everything right, but you do have to keep moving forward. Each setback is an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to grow. As you take consistent action, you build the mental toughness necessary to keep going through tough times. In this journey of taking consistent action, accountability is a key ingredient. Having someone to check in with, whether it's a mentor, a friend, or even your own journal, helps to keep you on track. Accountability isn't just about having someone else hold you responsible, it's about holding yourself responsible. It's about checking in with your progress, evaluating what's working, and adjusting what isn't. The act of reviewing your own actions, even daily, allows you to stay aligned with your goals and make sure you're not getting off track.